Hello and welcome to the podcast at the card table, in which we discuss creation, practice, performance and history with the greatest minds in Magic. Today's episode is brought to you by MAGICBOX, one of the UK's leading bricks and mortar magic shops, stocking everything from Murphy's, Penguin, Theory 11, Ellusionist and so much more. And with their price match guarantee, they'll never be beaten on price. Plus, as listeners of the podcast, you'll receive 10% off your order when you use code PATCT at the checkout. That's PATCT. Check the link in the description for more details. Without further ado, let's get on to the episode. Today's guest is a renowned mentalist and speaker from Chile, known for creating extraordinary experiences across TV, theatre and corporate stages worldwide, with a master's in psychological and behavioural sciences, and even piloting aircraft in his spare time. He's far from your average performer. It is, of course, Manuel Luarte. How are we doing today, Manuel? You well?
Yeah, very, very well. Just arrived to Poland and before going to UK, so I'm excited for all the travels and all the projects.
Incredibly busy time ahead with lots of projects, apparently.
I have been traveling for 9 months now, so I'm happy that the next month I will stop and I will have a place in Spain to rest.
Perfect. It'll be nice time to actually chill out and relax and take a little bit of well-needed rest. But hopefully it has been incredibly fun work traveling around and it's not been too much of a drain.
Yeah, for sure.
Perfect. Let us just quickly touch on the fact that you just casually pilot aircraft in your spare time as a hobby. Like that is quite the hobby. Not many people do that.
That touched a bit of my heart because that's what I used to do in Chile.
Oh, okay.
When I was living in Chile, I was part of the club of piloting, and I used to fly I was working, and when I finished work, I took an Uber and go to fly for a few hours and then go back home. It was amazing. And when I moved from Chile to UK back then, like 3 years ago, I had to left that behind, and it was very hard, but it's part of the process of growing, I guess. So I'm not a pilot anymore. I used to be. My license is completely expired.
That is still crazy. Like, that's so cool. That's such an interesting hobby that I would not expect from anyone. Like, that's really, really cool. Obviously,
it's not as hard to do it as people expect. So if anyone wants to try, I promise you, it's not as hard as you think, and it's not as expensive as you might think.
Oh, really? That's
yeah. I got very surprised. Maybe in Chile, I don't know. I don't know about in Europe. I haven't even looked for.
Fair. Obviously, your main basis in the Magic community is mentalism, but how did that come about? We're going to go back all the way to the start when everything began. Why mentalism, and how did you get into it?
Boy, that story. In one of my theater shows, I start with a question. What would you do if suddenly you wake up in a place where people don't want the best for you? People maybe are against you. What superpower you would like to have? And when people start to answer, maybe I want to be invisible. I don't want to be noticed. And for me, it was learning how to read people. And in my show, I show that, but what people doesn't know is that actually happened to me. Because when I was 12 to 16, I suffered for a period of very strong bullying at my school. So I was completely alone in those years. And I think mentalism was kind of a way to find that, or to regain that control. I didn't start with mentalism. I started with hypnosis. I tried to learn hypnosis. I get a book, I read everything, and I start to try things. And this is how I get into it.
Okay. There's not a lot of people start with hypnosis. They often sort of start with magic and then vary down these different avenues. But starting with hypnosis is a brave place to start, because it's a very scary thing to get into initially.
Yeah, but the interesting part is I was 15 at the time, and I read this book about hypnosis, and it has all this exercise, and I got interested in it. But when I tried, it didn't work. It was like complete failure. So then I dive into magic. And I started learning magic. I did magic for a while. And after learning magic and performing, someone asked me to try the hypnosis thing again, and that time it works enough to try again and try again. And then I was hypnotizing everyone in every party. But looking back, I can realize the problem was when I started, I didn't know how to speak. I was too shy, I didn't have confidence. So I didn't know how to give an instruction, look at people, give directions, and people couldn't trust me. But magic taught me that, how to connect with people. And after that, I could hypnotize way easily.
So how did you come about learning magic? Was this back in when you lived in Chile?
Yes, when I was 16, maybe 15, 16. And on one weekend, I decided to just try something. I watched a magician on TV. This is the story everyone has. They watch someone in TV, and I started grab some cards, start to practice. And the next year, I start to show things to my classmates and slowly start to learn or explore everything in magic I could, find some mentors, find some friends. And it was a beautiful journey for me. Saved me in a lot of ways.
In those initial stages, were you learning from YouTube? Did you have magic mentors, as you mentioned there? Was there like magic shops that you were going to? How were you actually gaining that knowledge to progress further?
The first thing I did was to read a book. I never read any book. Only the first one was the one in hypnosis, and the second one was the one on magic. And I started to practice the things and show to my classmates. But in Chile, there was a forum. And in this forum, I remember this huge earthquake in 2010 in Chile. And because it was so devastating for the country, many people went out to the streets to help, to try to help somehow, any way they could. And one of the ways this forum tried to help was to do magic on the street, ask for collaborations, and donate all the money. And that was the first time I met other magicians. And I met a group of magicians that we start hanging out every weekend from then on.
Wow, what a lovely way to come together in such a tough time to bring everybody together in the magic community to then go and support people, as opposed to a lot of people just earning for themselves and wanting to progress magic for those reasons. So it's nice for it to have come together on such a nice front.
It was very bizarre at the time, because the earthquake was so intense and so devastating for the country. It was like surreal, but it also gave us that feeling to hold the country, to come together, to try to do something. Everyone was doing that in every aspect. Chile is it always happened that, because we have so many natural disasters. So it's something maybe in our DNA somehow.
Like a tight knit community, yeah. Like a big family as a country.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to go into a quickfire section here to get to know you as fast as possible. We have several little answers here that you're more than welcome to go into a little deeper. This never ever stays quickfire, so it's entirely up to you if you want to develop those a little bit more, because sometimes these things go on for ages, but it's up to you. The first question of which is, do you have a particular favorite sleight? This obviously could be a card sleight, as you did magic back in the day, or this could be something mentalism related or something that you're using now. It's entirely up to you.
100 billet switch.
Okay.
I love that move.
Sensational. Perfect choice. Do you have a particular billet switch that you use?
Well, I developed mine. Okay. And so that's the one I feel comfortable with. And sleight of mind, I would say silent answers or hanging statements.
Ooh, okay. That's an incredibly interesting answer. Perfect. Nice and quick as well. Do you have a favorite plot in mentalism? Something either you enjoy performing, a particular type of mentalism you enjoy, or even something you enjoy watching?
Before, I was a fan of psychological kind of mentalism, but after studying psychology and diving into psychology a lot, now I start drifting course, more energy kind of performances. If that makes sense, like as a
Yeah, of
plot.
course. It's not often something that's explored in mentalism. Most of it tends to be towards the psychological side of things and picking up subtleties and reading people. But obviously, those kinds of performances as well are incredibly personable. Obviously, people can feel the performer coming across as genuine. It's not like just a trick for the sake of a trick. It is like a moment between the two people that are in participation.
I think it's more broad for me, and also it allows me to have better artistic licenses. And when I stick to psychology, because I'm a psychologist, I also want to be more precise. More, it's hard to go out of the science, and I feel personally that when I go into that space, I lock myself into these boxes. While when I go into more energetic or metaphoric spaces, I can explore way more avenues.
Okay, so it's less restrictive. Do you think that's down to the fact that you have more knowledge on those things and you're trying to stick to the things that are real and the things that are psychologically like grounded, as opposed to allowing those creative juices to flow and working? Because a lot of people that say they're doing psychological magic or mental magic, it's not really psychologically based. That's just a story they're providing to give context to the people. Do you think it's for that reason?
Not because there is something wrong with it, but because for me it's boring if it's not real or ground based. And I can sense that because I am a psychologist, and I learn like micro expressions, but I learned deeply all those topics. I was teaching it for so long. So for me, it's boring because sometimes it feels fake, and also it's hard to dive into the topic as an expert when the real experts cannot see how that stands, you know?
Yeah.
And so that for me is a bit not interesting or not mentally exciting.
Okay. Fair. Not stimulating enough to keep you entertained. Fair.
Exactly.
Do you have a particular favorite book? Whether this be a mentalism thing or something that you read, or it could even be the first book that you read.
One of the first books that for me give me a sense of understanding about the broad picture of what we are trying to do as an artist is Absolute Magic from Darren Brown. I didn't, when I read that book, I didn't know how to speak English. So I read one page, and with Google Translator, I was translating every sentence. And I basically write the book again in Spanish in my notes to understand it. And, but it changed my perspective a lot and helped me at the beginning. But now I have been studying more storytelling, and there are two books that I love. One is Storyworthy by Matthew Dix. You will not regret to read that book if you can. And the other one is A Story by Robert McKee. Both amazing books help you to understand so many things. The story is more about structuring, and Storyworthy is more about your own stories and how to give personal stories to the people. Is beautiful books. So if anyone is interested, like my recommendations, 100%.
I will pop both of those books in the show notes for people to check out.
Awesome.
How important would you say storytelling is in mentalism?
I think it depends all on what is your style of mentalism. Because if you are more based on trying to demonstrate something to people, that some mentalists are, for me personally, that's not that interesting as a personal exploration. But for me, what I want to do with the audience is not to show them something or convince them about something. It's about sharing experience, and stories are a way to share universal experience, something that the people can relate and people can feel as well. So when I tell the story, I told you at the beginning about this moment in life of the bullying, I don't say it explicitly, for example, but with these questions, I am building up the story in the people's minds without even telling it. And people start to make the connections. So stories help me to really connect with people, and that I am not a stranger anymore on the stage. I am someone they start to know.
Okay. Relatability, I feel, is incredibly important, especially from a mentalism standpoint when you're delving into potentially very deep and emotive topics. If you're not relatable, you often get sort of a standoffish nature from people because they don't want to give up that information, or they don't want to let themselves be vulnerable to somebody who doesn't necessarily feel like a friend. So when you're creating those stories and you're creating those gaps, do you think it's better to give a more broad story for them to create their own narrative around it, or is it better to give them something that's dead set that they can follow and understand?
I think at the end, the story that you are telling, it happens in their minds. So when I say, for example, I went to the south of Chile, and it's a place where it's winter all year long. When I say that, people imagine something different. Everyone imagines something different. Someone imagine something cloudy. Someone imagine it's rainy. Someone imagine it's snowing. And the place I'm talking about never snows. But I don't mind to be that precise, because as long as they fill their mind with the moods and the emotions I want, that's what I want to transmit. And the key for me is to transmit not a real fact, but an emotional truth. So I think that difference, it's big, and it's helped me to stay with enough to create that emotional truth.
It also allows every person that you're interacting with to have their own thoughts and experience on what you're saying, because you're not giving dead set facts. If you're performing to 5 or 6 people, they could be seeing and interacting with two totally different thoughts.
Yeah, and at the end is I have to try to find the fastest somehow way to connect with them. So, and even if I talk about I am in the kitchen and everyone will be in a different kitchen, we are all in the same vibe. And that's what's important. I think that all of us feel the same atmosphere.
Incredible. Do you have a particular favorite performance? Whether that's a performance that you've seen, it doesn't necessarily have to be magic or mentalism. It could be theater in general. It could be TV. Do you have a particular favorite performance?
To take the classics out of the way, Darren Brown and Derek Delgadio, amazing performances. And now that we
Mentioned
passed
on every
through that
episode.
everyone would say probably. Maybe 2 years ago, I was in London and I went to The Burned City by Punch Drunk. Punch Drunk is a company that creates this crazy world where you can go inside, you put a mask on, and you can walk through a real city inside. It's not a theater, it's like a big warehouse. And you can go through corners, rooms, places, small like neighborhoods inside, and you can interact with the actors. And that experience, it opened my mind to what is possible. It was incredible. So if you ever can see or watch something from Punch Drunk, I think it's a must.
Yeah, they have obviously Punch Drunk's an immersive company that has a variety of different shows around the world. They have a hotel in New York, which is an entire immersive experience that you walk around. And again, you have the anonymity of your mask so that you don't have to act on yourself. You can be part of it. You don't have to fear, being called out or having to interact. You can do as and what you want to get involved with and what you don't want to get involved with, and the actors are great for things like that. And they also have a new thing in London, which is like an audio experience. And as you're walking through, you have headphones on and you're hearing the story as you're walking through the narrative.
Yeah, Viola's Room, I think. I also went to watch that one, and I went to the one in Shanghai this year. That is also the same one as the one in New York. I think it's the same one, but it's also in Shanghai.
they're so good. Immersive entertainment is so good, and things like oh my goodness, there's a experience in London at the moment, which is essentially a big indoor city. And you get to go in, you get to experience a variety of different challenges and quests, and you can go off and do your own thing. I can't remember off the top of my head what it's called. Phantom Peak. There we go. That's what it's called. It is highly worth doing if you get the chance while you're over in London, because it's sensational. I think you get about 6 hours in there, and normally people say that's not enough to get everything done. It's one of those things that you can kind of go back to and have a totally different experience every time. But they have a multitude of actors and different experiences that you can do while you're there. We're now going to delve into something a little bit more, a little less nice, I guess. It is, what is your magic industry gripe? Do you have anything that you think is either overdone, overperformed, or something that you don't think belongs in the magic or mentalism community?
Yes. Yeah, I don't want to sound bitter, but I have so many, and most of them are related to this. It's not everyone, for sure. It's not everyone, but most people in the magic industry are the ones who feel less magic or experience the less magic in their life. Are the ones who believe the less, and it's very sad because I see so many performers trying to give this experience that they somehow internally know it exists and it's amazing, but they never feel it themselves because they don't allow themselves to feel it. And that for me is a bit sad. It's something that I don't understand well how that happened. And it makes me angry that I was that for so many years. I was exactly like that for so many years. And it's, and I didn't know how to help to change that.
How did you end up finding wonder and magic and bringing it back into your life? Or is it just something that happened over time?
Well, it happens over time, but mostly when I start to realize how little I know about the world in general, and how it's impossible to know everything. And the only way to kind of approach to that is through an emotional understanding of the world. I know this sounds like a bit crazy or a bit too maybe woo-woo, but when I realize that, it's kind of destroy these walls of logic that I put between myself and the magical experience of life. And for me, life already itself is magical now, but that happens maybe a few years ago. And for so long, I was using mentalism and my explorations to build bigger walls between myself and this experience, to try to understand everything and control everything. And when I realized it's not about that, it's about letting go the control, because I would never be able to control everything and understand everything, is when I could be open to experience that.
Yeah, I think curiosity and wonder is such a beautiful thing. I think we're so hung up on our own lives that we don't realize everything that's going on around us. And I think even the simplest thing, like walking down the street and seeing the birds and seeing a variety of different things that are just background noise to us, and then realizing that those birds are flying and flight shouldn't really be a thing. Like, that's such a crazy concept when you actually think about it. And all of those minute details and those little miracles that are happening all around us, the stuff that's on the ground, the things that live under the ground that we don't see. In allowing yourself to be curious and to invite that wonder, you then start noticing and seeing things in further life. And then that wonder comes back, and obviously that can be portrayed through your performance, like you mentioned. But I think it might be, as you say, something that's innate with magicians, in that because we're constantly exploring, understanding, and trying to ground the magical things that we're seeing and give reason and rhyme and method to everything that we're seeing, it sort of takes away that wonder. And I don't know if that then comes across from us in our performances as well, because obviously you know that it's not real, but you're still trying to convince other people that you think that it's real.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing I hate about the industry. many, sorry about that, but so many performers showing things on a stage that they don't believe in. Like if you're on a stage doing something and you actually don't believe in what you're doing, and we are talking about not factual truths, but emotional truths, and that it doesn't make sense for me, you know. And like to look for something that feels real for you and share it on the stage is the most magical thing you can do. So I think that's something. It's not about the industry, in my opinion. It's more like about a Western view of the world. And I had the opportunity recently to go to Chile and in the south to talk with some sorcerers and shamans, and their view is completely different. And it shows me how much I have these kind of Western lenses of truth, of reason, of logic to experience the world, and how much we are missing, or I was missing, all these other worlds and ways to understand the world. So there is a lot to talk about this. It's a really big topic.
Do you think that openness and sort of invitation to other things outside of magic then allows you to perform better and bring more energy and allow more emotive performances because you're opening yourself up to new experiences, not only for yourself, but also for the people that you're performing for?
Yeah, I think the fuel of the experiences have to happen in your own life. At least I focus on sharing. And if I don't live a life and look for my truths, my inner truths, look for what it matters to me, I don't have nothing to share. I have, what will I share with my audience if I don't live a full life? So that's why for me it's so important to explore so much and try to challenge my own beliefs constantly. And then when I found something worth sharing, I try to use mentalism to make people feel that, to make people feel how I felt. And I think that's how the art, as an artist, will grow. So otherwise, we will be very good technicians, very good at the discipline, but not very good at the art.
Incredible. What a beautiful way to put it. Who were your influences in coming to who you are today in terms of magic and mentalism? Who was it that sort of inspired your journey, and who did you take influence from?
Again, the classical out of the way, Darren Brown. It's so cool. And because, but not because now, it was so interesting how Darren Brown was for me at the beginning, like the goal, you know. I want to get there. I want to be like him, perform like him, especially at the beginning. And now that I start to explore more of my journey, I start to mature as a person. And now something that I never thought it will happen. I never thought I will not want to be like Darren Brown. But it happened at the end. I start to find my own inner truth and my own way. And I think that led me to have other kinds of inspirations. And that was incredible. Someone I would never expect to be inspired from was Alejandro Jodorowsky. It's or Alexander Jodorowsky, how it's in English, is the guy who created Psychomagic. It's a wonderful book. He's not a magician. He's a magician, but he's not a magician how we think a magician is. He does not do card tricks. He's more like artists that use symbols and images and metaphors to create the art and affect people that way. And his work is incredible. If you can read Psychomagic from Jodorowsky, maybe you will not like it, but it will for sure open you for different perspectives. And the other influences are all my friends. I have the luck to have amazing friends in the industry that are geniuses, inspire me every day, and they create so many cool things. And I I know I have their support, and for me, these people are the ones that I have close to my heart, and they influence me the most.
Do you have 2 or 3 people that you could mention that other people can look into and potentially find influence in as well?
Yeah, from these people we can. If I don't name someone, I'm sorry, but
we can't name everyone that influences us.
Comes to my mind Gabriel Verlaine, because I just saw him in Paris last week. It's Mark Lemon, that I will go to see him in London. Also Christian Grace, Anson Chen. There are so many good performers that are close to me. And every time I have an idea or something, well, Aaron and Anthony, Jacqueline also, Aaron Alexander. So I bounce ideas with them. I share stuff with them. Having a group of people that really have your back is amazing, and I think is the best way to grow as an artist. And those are my biggest influences.
When you talk about collaboration there, how open and honest are you guys with each other, in the sense that you will, if somebody thinks something's not particularly good, you will say, look, it's not great? Is that something that you guys, is there like an honesty policy, or are you guys constantly trying to strive to just make something better?
I think everyone has a different kind of special skill for me. For example, when I go to Gabriel Verlaine, when I show him something, I know he will add different perspective, like language details that will make whatever I'm showing to him so much better. And he do the same with me. But for example, when I show something to Anson Chen, I know he's so connected with his emotions that he can tell me exactly how he feels at every step of the process. So he can tell me, okay, right when you did that, I feel this way. I feel like I couldn't believe you. And that helped me so much to shape the performance. And Mark, for example, will tell you immediately when something is not working or it feels too simple. So everyone have their own kind of special skill, or like they have developed this sense to be good at what they are, at what they do.
Incredible. And you're taking those little tidbits of knowledge from each one to create this amalgamation of genius.
Yeah, they are like, yes, I mean, and it's not only because they are big names in the industry. It's because I think they care enough to really pay attention and develop these skills. That's why they are big names in the industry, you know?
Just a quick interruption before we get into the next question. Obviously, with this podcast comes a ton of recommendations from guests of either books or tricks, and logically I turn to MAGICBOX. Not only do they usually have exactly what I need, but I can get it the next day. Plus, Graham and the team really know their magic, so if I have any questions or queries about a product, they're ready to answer over the phone or email. And as a bonus for you listeners at home, you can also grab 10% off with the code PATCT. Just head to magicbox.uk.com and use the code at the checkout. Anyway, I just wanted to share that. Now back to the episode. We're gonna delve a little bit more deep into the sort of things that you are doing at current and the things that you've done recently. Obviously, you've worked within the corporate industry for several years now, creating sort of bespoke and engaging experiences for your clients. What advice do you have for those looking to get into the corporate world, and how can you create a memorable experience that both engages your audience but also supports a client's message? Obviously, if you're working for a corporation that are trying to get something across to their staff or trying to promote something, how do you create something that's both engaging and creative from your aspect but also still incorporating what they have to say? I know this is like asking for your top secrets.
Yeah. No, it's okay, but I'm not an example by any means. I have so many friends that are way more successful at corporate events because I have changed country 3 times in 3 years. I haven't been able to really develop the corporate setting. I have a few gigs, but I think if I could recommend something is to see your job with a corporate client as a business. They don't hire you because you have an amazing double lift, and they hire you because you solve their problem. And I think that was a big eye-opening moment for me. Many people solve the problem of boredom on an event, which is great. But for me, I offer value to my clients by helping them to shape their message and deliver it with impact, blending it into the experience of the night or the experience of the events. So they don't necessarily hire me because they want a mentalist. They hire me because I get them closer to their goal to achieve what they want at that event. And so I think the advice is not about you, it's about them, really. And the second one is treat that as a business.
How do you find balance between obviously that message that you're trying to convey on their behalf, but also giving your own creative flair?
When a corporate client hires me, I don't see myself as the artist in that sense. As an artist, I do theater shows, I explore things, I use my Instagram, I share my truth there. But when they hire me, they are hiring my skills somehow to design something for them. So I have to use my skills to take their message, to take their perspective. And I usually, when I perform, I cannot not be me, but I try to look through the lenses of them when I perform. I design the experience as if they would have my skills and they would design the experience, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. I can imagine in that sense then there's a lot of research on your part about the corporate message and what they embody and what they're looking for putting forwards in terms of their views. How do you go about doing that research so that you are conveying the narrative that they want you to convey? Obviously, without being part of the business for a long time, it's potentially difficult to gain that understanding. So how do you go about gaining that understanding quickly to allow you to create a message that is with
For me, it always depends on what they want. Sometimes they just want entertainment, and then I have my show. This is the show. Go for it. But sometimes they want something else, and of course that costs more, and you can charge a bigger fee for that. And that personalized experience is something I have found that is very valuable for corporate clients. And I think that includes meetings, includes talking with the person who is in charge. They usually send me a full description of the event or the brand or the launching or the product. And we have few meetings where I give them ideas, I receive feedback, and then we decide of what experience they will have at the end.
So when you're talking to these clients, are you essentially promoting what they're doing, or are you trying to reinvigorate their staff, or does it depend on a corporate to corporate basis on what their aim is?
Depends on the event, 100%. For example, recently in Spain, I did a launch of a product. So I was there presenting the products, and I was there to make the whole experience connect with the product that everyone will have at the end of the evening. It was a very exclusive dinner. And so that every act that I show to the people and they feel amazed somehow was connected to every part. And that's what I cannot say this. That was what the client wanted in that particular event. But there was another event that was more about a break. They want a break between a big sports team building event they had, and they will put everyone in a huge like stadium kind of thing, and they will watch a performance. And that's different. So they want high energy, different mood. So it always depends on what they specifically want. So that's why I say it's about them. What are their goals for that evening? And I think that's the key to make a good event for them.
Perfect. I think it's incredibly interesting to hear client-centric performance more so than a magic-centric performance? Because I feel like a lot of performers nowadays, it is about them and about their persona and what they're portraying on stage. Even in a corporate event, it's more so making them look good in front of everyone as opposed to making the client and making the branding look good. So it's nice to hear that's how corporate should be done, in my opinion. It should be promoting the people that have been gracious enough to pay you to be at the event to help support their business.
Well, I think the other way also works because many corporate events want just entertainment. And the more you are yourself, the more entertaining you are, or the more you have work in your persona, and that's great, and that works 100%. But I prefer to give to the client as much as I can. And I'm not only a performer, I'm also a psychologist. I have trained people. I know how to design storytelling. I know so many things in communication that I can give this value to the client. And if I can give that in a business, why not? You can raise your fee, you can create a better experience, the client would be happier. So I think those both perspectives can coexist, but they serve a different purpose.
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, another thing that you're doing in terms of magic is using magic as an educational tool, using magic and psychology to help aid professional development and education. How are you going about using magic to educate people, and why do you think it's a useful tool in aiding learning?
There are so many answers for this, but specifically in magic for teaching people, I have worked with a company. It's from London. It's called Academy, and they do learning and development for companies using magic. And that was the first time I started to use magic for that. And it's all, again, for me, it's all about the client, because this is a business. You want to provide them value, and the client, the value of magic for them is that magic, I mean, this is true, magic opens up your mind with wonder to possibilities to learn, to change. When you see magic, you are forced to kind of rethink the world, because you realize how you don't understand everything. And that space for learning is key. It's not new. And now I will go back to the shaman thing, because shamans have been using tricks, magic tricks, for centuries to open people to the possibility of healing. And that sometimes is seen as, oh, they are scamming people. But in reality, that's a key aspect of the healing process. Because when people don't think they can heal, they will not. Not all of them. Some of them will heal anyway, but it affects a lot on the healing process. So this magic, centuries ago, it helps people to open up. And now, in a modern approach, that can be used for people to learn something new, to have different perspective, to get insight. And that's how Academy do it. And now that's how I feel I can give also value through magic.
I think certainly in a society nowadays that is a lot more fast-paced and dopamine focused, I think educating through the likes of magic or immersive entertainment or puzzles and things like that is definitely becoming a much more used approach, because it is tactile, it is engaging, and you're not just sat reading books or studying. It gives you something to physically do, and it allows your brain to work and understand things better. Why do you think magic opens those doorways so much more than just sitting and reading a book, for example?
I don't know if magic opened those doors more, but what I know is magic helps you to achieve something that is very difficult otherwise in a very short period of time, which is it makes you realize of the biggest illusion of all, that is, the world is not a fixed thing and you don't know everything. So when we are in this space of we know everything, we control everything, or we're trying to do that, I think it closes the learning aspect. And when you see magic, you realize you don't have that control. And that control is an illusion. And I think that's the real power of magic, that reveals the illusion that we know what's happening. And when you open to not knowing is when you can have more possibilities and you can change and people can learn new things.
Do you think that's why relatability is such an important thing within Magic?
What do you mean about with that?
In the sense that if you can help somebody understand through relatability, they can further understand things at a faster speed than if they were just trying to figure it out themselves. Obviously, if it's something that they know and understand already, they can then learn from that faster than something that they're trying to understand and then learn from.
And how that connects with relatability specifically?
In terms of learning, if you're able to allow somebody to relate to the magic or the topic to increase the speed at which they can be educated.
I don't think that helps in the same way magic does. I think relatability might get the outcome closer. For example, if you want to learn how to play the guitar and you feel it's impossible, and then you see someone who didn't know how to play the guitar 2 months ago and now is playing something, it's a bit more possible for you.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing about magic is that this feeling that you get if you do a magic trick is kind of the same feeling. It's like, wow, something impossible. I thought that was impossible, just happens. And the key part is to transfer that feeling, to use it for something else. And I think if you can make that connection, then magic can be so valuable for companies, for learning. And the relatability, of course, can help because it helps in that sense. But if you find other ways, magic also can help to achieve the same.
We're going to move into a new section that we've added to the podcast, which is our annotated ERDNASE section, which I'm incredibly excited to look into because we're going to delve into one of your social media videos and we're going to talk about sort of the creative process and the thinking behind why you put the routine together and how it came about. So I'm going to switch over to our video.
This game is lie or truth. I will ask you these 3 questions. So I will have to know if what you are saying is a lie or is a truth. First question, what's the name of your first pet?
Roxy.
Roxy. Second question, what is your dream job?
Doctor.
Third question, what is your perfect holiday destination?
South of France.
I don't know how many are lies or truth, but I think there are 2 truths and 1 lie. Yes? Yes, good. The first one, you say Roxy, that's a truth.
Yes.
Yes. Second one, you say doctor. What was the third one? You
South
say?
of France.
That's truth.
Yeah.
Yeah, so doctor is a lie.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
Thank you for playing. And actually, because I asked you for your dream job, do you want to be a poet?
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
That's insane.
Thank you.
Wow, you're so talented.
Oh, that was so poetic.
In that performance, you have taken a concept that we know, which is obviously the game of 2 truths and a lie, and you've turned it into a mentalism routine. Why did you specifically choose that narrative to go along with, and how did this routine come about?
I was in London maybe 3 years ago, and I wanted to go to the street and perform some videos. And I wanted something that people could watch over and over again and keep watching, you know? So it's not this kind of performance you do once and then the next time is the same. Every time is something different. Every time people come up with different things to say, and every time is interesting. And I thought maybe this game of lies and truth, it would be fun to just go with someone with in a selfie camera, say, hey, do you want to play a game? And just do it. I never did it that way, but this is what I came up with.
Why specifically that nature? Why that narrative as opposed to just going along and telling them what their dream job was? Why did you give it that spin?
I think also when I was creating it, because I had social media in mind, I was thinking, I want people who watch the video to try to guess with me. Because so many times I see some performances on social media and I don't like them that much. For me, it's like, I have seen this so many times, so it's not that interesting. So I know when people watch me, after watching it the same effect many times, I will not be that interesting because they know what I will be doing. But I want to focus on the people on the video and their lies, their way to react, their way to say or try to hide the information. It will be the interesting thing. That's why it's designed kind of this way.
When you're creating effects such as this one, obviously this effect comes with the kicker ending of obviously you finding out what the lie and the truth are, but you then go one step further to tell them exactly what their dream job is and tell them what their lie was. Are you constantly aiming to have that one extra thing to bring an extra hit, or is it something that just comes up from time to time depending on the performance?
I think it depends on the structure of the performance. In this case, it was like meant to be, because I have seen other performances of lie truth where the person either doesn't reveal the lie or the person tried to hide the truth. And when they find the truth, the game finished. Okay, that's the truth, finished. But if I try to find the lie somehow, then I can go to this extra step, which I realized later was a mistake for social media. But that's a separate story.
Do you think it's more interesting in the sense that it creates a closed loop because you're getting the answer and you're closing that narrative, as opposed to the person not revealing what their truth is or not revealing what their lie is, and then you're almost left wanting more?
I think it's a lot to how do the people feel when they watch this. And this is a key that I understand with this video as a self-feedback. I thought this will be better, that I will reveal the thing at the end as a surprise for social media, and it was not. I will explain you why. But for stage, that I think is better, because people are watching something, and when you discover which one was the lie and say to the person, okay, go back to the seat, people are somehow wondering if they engage with the person on stage and they empathize with them. People want to know, okay, what was the dream job in reality, what it was. And in that moment, if you say, then you complete that loop and you create this a more beautiful scene on a stage.
Do you think social media, certainly from a magic perspective, tends to be now more towards just giving a nice, fast, impressive sort of dopamine hit that somebody can watch and go, oh, that's cool, and then they're on to the next video, as opposed to creating these truly beautiful narrative pieces with sort of an emotive performance style?
But I think, yes, I still like to think that people want meaningful things on social media, or at least that's what I choose to believe. But in this case, the mistake, I think it was that there are two stories, and the two stories are different. One story is I will detect which one is lie or truth. And the other story is like I will detect from the lie which one is the real answer. So it's because there are two different stories. When the first story finish, people go to the next one. So on social media, I think people can only see one story developing. And when I start to read the stats, I realize people watch, and a lot of people like this video particularly But after I reveal is a liar to truth, yes, boom, people go to the next one because the story is finished. And that was maybe a mistake. After I upload a few videos where I finish right there and they got better performance. But it's because people don't get engaged in the second part because the story was not presented. You know, I didn't link the story from the beginning. The story is what is true, what is lie. If I guess, the video finished.
Okay. Do you think you almost have to create or guide audiences in that sense in social media so that they understand and know what's coming, so that they know to continue watching?
I'm still learning social media, honestly, because I try to do this and I start to do a lot of performance on the street, and this was at that time. But then I didn't have time to keep going and something happened. Then I came back again. So I'm still kind of learning social media. If someone wants to dive into social media, my opinion is they have to be so consistent, not because of the algorithm, but because of the learning process that it requires. You need to learn how, for example, these little things that I learned with this video help me to make better videos, but there are so many other things I have to learn. So I don't know. I don't know really how is the best way to do a social media video.
Do you think the presentations for magic and mentalism on social media differ? In that, obviously, people are wanting those fast, quick sort of dopamine hits. How do you fare that mentalism across in those instances? Do you think videos might have to be a little bit fast and not have the interpretation of it being more dramatic and more emotive and sort of learning to enjoy the character or the emotion that's being created in that moment?
I think sometimes we make the mistake of thinking that because mentalism is not visual, it's kind of less engaging. But so many people just telling stories with their phone in their face are so engaging. So it's not about that, in my opinion. It's about creating the right attention hooks or the right points of attention to make people watch the video or see the show. So I don't think it's that's the specific reason or how do I say this? I don't think that's why mentalism and magic kind of differ. For sure, mentalism is more non-material and magic usually tends to be more visual. So you have to rely as a mentalist in storytelling, in hooks, in the structure, instead of the visual story that magic tells.
Which again is another point in that learning curve about social media and the things that do and don't work.
Yeah, no, on a stage as well. On a stage is the same. Okay, a magician goes, takes a balloon, boom, wine, what? And you are like, you have the audience hooked in 1 second. And mentalism is a bit different. You have to use other resources, other way to catch the attention of the people.
In that sense, then, how do you go about building a rapport quickly with an audience so that you can grab their attention?
Stories are the number one for me to do that. A key aspect of doing that is how to start a story. And for example, when I teach sometimes these kind of things, I always say you have to start with 3 things. You have to start with a place, a time, and an action. If you start with a place, a time, and an action, people will engage way faster in what you are saying. For example, in my show, after doing a crazy thing where all the people are like clapping, high energy, everyone jumps from their seats to clap and scream, and I want to go back to a more intimate and engaging mood, I stay in silence, and when everyone's shut up and the light goes a bit dimmer, I look at the audience and I say, I am 12 years old and I'm in my rooms. Pardon, sorry. I am 12 years old and I'm in my parents' room. I am asking them to don't send me to school anymore. And this sentence, because it have a time, a place, and a time allocation and an action, immediately transport you to the place. So now you are not in the theater. Now you are in the room of my parents with myself there, trying to ask them to not send me to school anymore. And that shift, I think it's great to start fast. So when and another story, I am saying, last summer, I am in the south of Chile trying to look for a shaman. It's very hard to find. I'm asking to the people, and now you are with me in the south of Chile. So that's the power of storytelling. It can transport the people from the theater to wherever your story is happening.
Again, it's those instant hooks that create an intrigue. Like you now want to know, like, did he find the shaman? What did he learn? Like, it's creating those open possibilities.
Yeah, and also the same visual effect that happens with something visual in the story. Now people are going with you and are in a room with your parents, and you are asking something like, why he don't want to go to school anymore? What's happening? Like, and they are having this stimulus. So the stimulus and in behavioral science, it's called positive cognitive effect. It's there, so people stay.
It's why I think books are such an amazing thing, especially when you look at books versus films. Yeah, films are great, but you don't get the same like visualization in your head that you do when you're reading a book, and having that own sort of experiencing and being in the story. And these narratives that you create in Mentalism also have that same effect.
Yeah, it's funny because I cannot relate fully to that because I'm very bad at reading fiction.
Okay.
But when I watch a movie, I'm completely inside the movie. I am not here anymore. So, but it's the same feeling. It's even when you hear a story. If you can watch Matthew Dick's story, sorry again. If you can watch Matthew Dick's stories on YouTube, please watch any of his stories. He's brilliant doing this. He is it was one of the inspirations. I recommended his book, but his stories are crazy. So please go there. They are not very stimulant, nothing crazy, no crazy things happen. He's just there talking. It's the only thing he do. But the way he tells the story makes you transport to the story, to inside the story. And if you allow that to happen, you experience so many things. So for me, that is the power of storytelling, and use it in magic or mentalism especially. Is so powerful.
I think another incredible thing that we can sort of take from the storytelling world is that in storytelling and the likes of comedy, they have nothing to hide behind. They just have their story. That's what they're presenting. There's no cards, there's no tricks, there's no illusions that they can stay safe behind. They have this narrative, and that is it. There's just bare bones, which I think is something that we should certainly take more as magicians.
Yeah. Well, I think that's maybe kind of, there is information missing in that statement.
Okay.
I think the most successful storytellers and comedians do that, but there are so many that don't. So we see more magicians not doing that because we know more magicians.
Yeah. Okay.
But
yeah.
I think it happened to everyone. So if you want to be a very good magician or very good mentalist, I think you have to pass through that layer of hiding behind what you do into sharing an experience, showing yourself vulnerably and be with the audience in that moment. I think that's maybe the line.
It's a scary line to pass for a lot of people.
It's yeah, I think it exposes you a lot. As I told you in my show, in the theater show, I talk about bullying. I never say it explicitly or talk about it explicitly or give a moral understanding as no, you shouldn't. I never do that. But I tell my story. I tell my beliefs and how I change from being very logical to a more looking for emotional truth, and how in that journey I start to meet people that change my perspective completely. And I somehow hope to share this experience with the people, and they can feel the same. They can feel their experiences, or their mind can change as well, and they can learn something and maybe go with me through that process. That's the purpose of the show. So in an artistic performance, which is not the same as entertainment, purely entertainment. You can entertain with many things, and entertainment will be there. But from an artistic perspective, I think this is what makes the difference.
I think that's what makes it so memorable. It's because you leave with a feeling and an experience more so than just leaving having seen something.
Mm.
And that allows you to then further think on that topic, and that then continues to roll forwards into your life, as opposed to it just being, I saw this cool thing, that is the end.
Yeah, at the end, it's all about that. I think it's about to share our life with the people, and having this common experience in this theater, in this place. And it's an infinite journey. I mean, there's so much to learn. I have so much to learn on this topic. It's like a constant exploration, and that challenge yourself, challenge your beliefs, and then you try again and you find different things, and it's so huge. But the journey is so fulfilling as well.
Again, it comes back to opening yourself to those experiences and opening yourself to wonder. Back in a full circle thing.
Yeah.
One
exactly.
of the other areas that you specialize in is in speech and communication, often helping other speakers or CEOs to enhance their skills. What can magicians and performers take from the world of speaking in terms of advice to help them convey their message better, or to storytell better, or just speak better in general?
Okay,
I know that's a very broad question.
Yes, a bit broad. But it's crazy how being performers and having more practice than anybody else, because we constantly practice, sometimes we are so unaware of our communication, myself included. For example, the biggest advice that I can give, and actionable, a doable one, is to record yourself and watch the video. Because we think we communicate in one way, we talk in one way, and when you see yourself, you realize you don't. So I would say, first, listen to what you say in the video and try to focus on if your voice is good, if your vocalization is good. For me, it's so hard in English as well because it's not my first language. But the idea is that everyone can understand you. And something funny is that when I jump into Spanish performances, sometimes I speak so fast that people cannot understand as well, because I think they will understand me better because I speak Spanish. But for example, in Spain, the Spanish is slightly different than in Chile. So people still, when I go too fast and I saw myself, oh, wow, I'm speaking so fast, people couldn't understand. And that awareness helps you to improve. Another way to improve is to watch the video in silence. So you see yourself moving. Can you see you are nervous? Or can you see you don't know what to do? And what are you saying without words? And that's also a good thing to do from time to time. And the last one is to see the full video and also the audience. because sometimes we think, or I think that, oh, this part is so good, everyone will love it. And then the audience doesn't like it that much, or the audience doesn't react the way I want. Or maybe, and this is something you can easily do, see where the audience reacted unexpectedly. So you say something maybe and the audience reacted, or maybe laugh, or maybe they start to look at each other, and understanding why will help you to keep doing that thing that works or take out things that doesn't work.
They're such game-changing tiny bits of advice, especially watching your performances back without audio is something I'd never thought about. Watching performances back with audio and seeing how I speak and how I come across is something that I think's fundamentally incredibly important. But watching it without audio so that you can see how you're performing and how you're coming across and the emotion you're conveying in the way that your body's reacting and your facial expressions without your vocalization is a whole different ball game in itself. So that's certainly something I'm personally going to take forward, and hopefully those listening will as well. So that is an incredible piece of advice. So thank you very much for sharing that.
My pleasure.
We're going to move into one final new segment before we sort of wrap up for today. It has been absolutely incredible so far. And this segment is, as I mentioned at the start, the question deck. There's 52 different cards with 52 different questions, and they range from prolific life questions all the way to the most random questions physically possible. So I'm just going to ripple through, you call out stop, and we'll figure out what the question is in real time. So there's no preparation for this.
Okay, no forces.
No forces, no slip force, no nothing. No breaks. All around.
Great, great. Stop.
Perfect. Go with this question here. So what do you want people to say as they're leaving your show? What emotion or what thoughts do you want people thinking as they're leaving your show?
There is so much more in life that I don't know about. I want to make people, inspire people to explore their life fully and don't be limited for what they think is the limit. There is so much more.
Oof. That's a big hard-hitting message to end the show with.
I think mentalism has that power because the difference with magic is that when you do magic, people go out of the theater and SpongeBob are still SpongeBob. Cards are still cards. You don't go to your house thinking cards will change, but when you see mentalism, you don't know. You go out of the theater and you don't know what is real, what was not. So the line of possibility gets blurred. And I think that's a power we can have as mentalists that is very hard to achieve with magic. You can achieve it as well if you do the right perspective. But in mentalism, it's very explicit. So it's blurring that line of possibility that opens new possibilities and help people to be inspired to live their life fully.
Do you think in that sense then, is there a point in which mentalism, in terms of routining, is too perfect? In the sense that it's like so impossible that it doesn't feel real, and therefore the audience sort of backs away from it because they're like, it has to have been Stooges or it has to have just been prearranged or something like that. Do you think there's a level in which it becomes like too good to be true?
Yeah, I think the moment it doesn't feel real, it doesn't have to feel real like, oh, he's doing everything without any... It's not that kind of real feeling. It has to feel real enough to blur that line, to say, wow, here there's something else happening, something beyond. And I think too perfect can create that tricky feeling that everything is planned or everyone are actors. And when you enter into that space, people lock themselves. So what you want, or what I want in mentalism, is that people open up. And the moment people raise the barriers, say, oh no, this must be this, or this is too perfect, that's when mentalism failed for me.
Okay. An incredibly interesting thought on that. One of the ways in which you're looking to help other people create more memorable performances and more personal performances is through a book that you have coming out, if I'm correct. It
Oh
is
yeah.
coming out on the 1st of September. Would you like to tell us more about what that is, what the audience can expect, and where they can get their hands on it?
Oh yes. This happened 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, when I was in London and I went out to the street to perform with a friend. I remember I was thinking, what can I do? Because I want to do something for social media. And my friend had a deck of cards and he just say, pick a card. And it was so easy for him. And for me, it was so hard because I had to say, think of this and do that or write down whatever. And I was like, what can I do that is fast, is instant, and I can engage people in 1 second on the street to perform something? And I had a coin in my pocket because I was practicing how to toss the coin. So I say, oh, maybe I can use this. And the first thing I did was a French drop to say to someone, where is the coin? And the person mistake, they get surprised. And I say, now you try it. And in this action, people got engaged immediately. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And I start to explore the concept of the witch hands, especially because at that moment, I didn't have any gimmicks. And I was doing it more or less like, if I fail, I fail. It doesn't matter. Just a game. But slowly I start to realize I could do it more reliable. And I start to use some techniques like hanging statements or other techniques to guess where was the object, until the point I could develop a routine without any object. So it was an imaginary object and people were like that and I was nailing it all the time. That routine, at the end, it didn't work because without a coin, that can be only done for one person. Nobody sees anything when that happens. So it's not theatrically engaging. But I put a coin and it works better. So I start to create this performance to do the effect with a coin, propless, without any gimmicks. So they could use their own ring, their own stuff. I could do it anywhere. And one of the course methods was, I will say the method of the book here. It's all an exploration of how to use people reactions to guess where something is. So if you're familiarized with hanging statements, this is like hanging statements at its limit. So there are many ways to use them, and it's a full exploration of how to create that kind of reaction, not only on hanging statements, but in all the ways you can make someone react. And in the book, I have the witch hand routine that I remember I showed this routine to Michael. Were you in Mainz?
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
Michael
right?
Murray, when I asked who would you like to see on the podcast in the future, he was like Manuel Luarte because he's one of the modern minds that are leading mentalism. So yeah, you were recommended through Michael initially, and then obviously I saw your lecture at Minds as well.
That's that's great. Michael is one of my heroes as well. And in one Blackpool, I showed Michael the finished, polished witch hand routine. And Michael loved it because it has one of his principles inside, and he didn't even realize. So he helped me to develop this. He invited me to Minds, and since then I have evolved this technique more. So now I can do, for example, guessing a card just with reactions of the people, or a date, not even a date of birth, any date with that system. So all of that is all those exploration of these 3 years, because this happened 3 years ago, the Minds, everything is in the book, and it's my way to make mentalism go into a more authentic and honest way, especially because I stopped performing body language fit because it didn't feel genuine. And now in this way, I even though I don't perform it as body language, it uses that to get the information for real. So you are really reading people when you are doing this.
Wow. It sounds too good to be true. It sounds like if propolis mentalism was perfected, that's the description it would have.
Yeah,
I
well,
am
it's not.
incredibly excited.
It's it's not something I would expect to find when I started the journey, but it's something clearly it helped me in so many ways. And when I start doing it, and then I start applying it to everything in my performances, for me is one of the techniques I have in my heart. And the cool thing is, once you learn it, it's inside of you, so you can really know what to look on people when you are doing something or trying to fish information or try to use the reactions to get information. And one example is, I was in a show and I asked someone to write something in a paper. And when I do my pick, I realized they wrote the wrong thing. And there are many boring ways to go over that. And maybe I can kill a bit of the routine, but I didn't want it to, because I wanted to show the audience what I have for them. So what I did was using this technique to actually get what they are thinking of. And I got it right in maybe 3 questions. Not questions. The person didn't answer anything. So it was great. And this is recorded, but it's in Spanish. This was recorded, this is in Spanish. You will not understand, but it's and like that, I have done so many things that are the same. And I feel so much confidence to perform as well. Even if you are wrong, you will be wrong in the best way possible, which is another topic as well, of how to fail, how to manage risk, how to use real psychological techniques. Because it's not about just relying on something that is psychological, because psychological things can have so many shapes. It's how to deal with that in a way that you can give a great experience to the audience and use all that you have and read people to get more information. And I am extending a bit, but harvesting in a way to enhance the experience. I completely went to
No, it
lines, but
sounds phenomenal, and I
it's hard
can't
for me
wait
to
to get a
explain.
hold of it.
I'm so into this that there's so many different avenues that it's hard for me to explain it in simple words.
Yeah, it sounds like it's more of a system and a tool that you can then take and apply to a multitude of other things.
Yeah, I apply to everything. But in the book, there are routines specifically designed for people to learn. Because many people, when they see a performance of someone really good, maybe Peter Turner or some other great performer, they say, oh, I will not be able to do that. You have to be that person to do that. And the whole purpose of the book is to have structured routines that allow you to practice and allow you to fail and allow you to manage failure until you master the technique. So the more you practice, the more you master the technique, the more you make it intuitive, and it will help you in every other performance. And you will know how to go out of any situation after that. So that's the idea. That's why I created the book as a teaching tool.
Perfect. So can people sort of wish list this? Is there a way for people to show interest before this goes live on the 1st?
Yes, there is a email list. In that email list, in that email list, I will tell the people when it will be available. Exactly, they will know before anyone else. In the email list I have, I send emails, I share some bits of information or ideas I came up with. I share projects with some, discounts or helps for people who are following that list. So I will give you the link. Maybe you can share it with people.
Perfect. Yeah, it'll be in the show notes below this video. Or if you're listening on the podcast, that'll be in the show notes on the episode. but it's definitely something to check out. And it leads perfectly into what are your plans for the future? What else do we have coming up? Obviously, you have the incredible book. Is there anything exciting in the works as well?
One of the most exciting things happened last year because one of my heroes, which is Anthony Jacquin, and Aaron Alexander, which is a revolutionary performer, we come together to create a kind of a retreat. And because I was living in Prague, we did it in Prague. We hired a hotel. People from different backgrounds came to the retreat, from magicians to mentalists to therapists to nurses, psychologists, everyone from a different background in the same room, trying to explore the deeper layers of the minds. It's called Beyond the Veil. It's about exploring what is beyond hypnosis, beyond mentalism, beyond. So what are the real core principles of the human mind? It was a great event, was a huge success. And this year we will do it in Berlin. So the three of us are going to Berlin. Amazing people are coming, and we are creating these whole weekends full of explorations. So if you are into that kind of things, if you are into understanding really what happens in the mind, to maybe into hypnosis, we will treat all those topics, but trying to go deeper into the into why this works. And how, understanding why it works, we can do so many other things and mix different techniques to create better experiences.
When can people expect this? I know you mentioned before that it's in October. Do you have specific dates for those?
We are planning to do this on the 24th, 25th, and 26th of October.
This year.
Yes, it's coming soon. So save the dates. If you are in the email list, if you're in the mailing list, I will send you over everything. So don't worry.
All the more reason to get signed up to that mailing list. There's lots of incredible things to come. Where can our listeners find you in terms of social media, in terms of performances, anything up and coming? Where can our listeners check out for that? Obviously, there's the mailing list. Where else?
Yes, I have an Instagram. I always on Instagram, trying to upload what I'm doing, trying to connect with people. Every time I fly to any place, I say, hey, is there anyone here who wants to meet? And I'm happy to arrange meetings, to do stuff. So social media, Instagram is the one I use the most. Manuel_Luarte.
Perfect. Again, that shall be linked in the show notes. Well, Manuel, it has been absolutely phenomenal. I think even the tidbits of knowledge that I've gained from this, I'm eternally grateful for, never mind the stuff that people have potentially picked up at home as well. So thank you very much for dedicating the time, and obviously please do enjoy yourself when you come across to the UK. It's a shame I'm going to be at the complete opposite end of the country, otherwise it would have been incredible to get down and meet you. But I'm sure in the future, whether it be in Berlin or whether it be at Mainz, we will have a catch up. But thank you again so much for sharing your time.
Thank you, Corey. It has been an absolute pleasure for me. And yeah, hope to catch each other at Mainz.
Incredible. If you guys at home have enjoyed the episode, please do let us know. Leave a comment on the YouTube or on the podcast. And if you want to, leave a 5-star review. It always helps us out. And we will catch you guys in the next one.